Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, by Robert Cialdini explores the principles that make people say yes and how they can be leveraged in everyday life. Cialdini breaks down persuasion into several core principles, each offering insight into human behavior and decision-making. This essay summaries each chapter, providing a detailed analysis of how persuasion operates and how to recognize and resist manipulative tactics. Chapter 1, Weapons of Influence. Cialdini introduces the concept of weapons of influence, referring to psychological triggers that prompt automatic responses from people. He highlights how these triggers, like reciprocation or consistency, lead individuals to comply without deep thought. For example, he mentions the click response in animals and compares it to human behavior, where certain cues automatically lead to actions, such as reciprocating a favor or adhering to social norms. The chapter establishes that humans often use mental shortcuts to simplify decisions, which can be exploited by persuaders. Chapter 2, Reciprocation, the Old Give and Take. The principle of reciprocation is the idea that people feel obligated to return a favor or gesture. Cialdini explains how this principle works in various social contexts, from marketing to interpersonal relationships. For example, when someone receives a free sample, they feel a subtle pressure to buy the product in return. The power of reciprocation is evident in the effectiveness of free offers or charitable gifts. Cialdini also warns about the dangers of this principle, noting that it can be manipulated to pressure people into saying yes to requests they would otherwise reject. Chapter 3, Commitment and Consistency, Hobgoblins of the Mind. Cialdini delves into the desire for consistency in human behavior. When people commit to something, especially publicly, they feel pressure to align their future actions with that commitment. This principle is used by salespeople who first get small commitments from customers, making it easier to secure larger commitments later. For example, a car dealer may initially get a customer to agree to a small feature before persuading them to upgrade to a more expensive model. This chapter highlights the mental discomfort, cognitive dissonance, that occurs when actions don't match commitments, pushing individuals to adjust their actions to maintain consistency. Chapter 4, Social Proof, Truths Are Us. Social proof is the principle that people look to others for guidance on how to behave, especially in uncertain situations. Cialdini uses examples such as laugh tracks on TV shows, which signal viewers to find a scene funny. Social proof becomes especially powerful in ambiguous scenarios, like emergencies, where people look to the reactions of others before deciding what to do. This principle can lead to both positive outcomes, like cooperation, and negative ones, such as bystander apathy in crisis situations. Cialdini explains that social proof is most effective when people observe others similar to themselves, making it a potent tool in advertising. Chapter 5, Liking, the Friendly Thief. Cialdini explores the principle of liking, which is based on the idea that people are more likely to be influenced by those they like. Factors such as physical attractiveness, similarity, compliments, and familiarity all increase a person's likability. For example, sales representatives often try to find common ground with potential clients to create a sense of familiarity and trust. Cialdini emphasizes how this can be used deceptively, as individuals may use charm or flattering words to manipulate others. Recognizing the influence of liking can help individuals become aware of when their decisions are being swayed by someone's likable persona rather than the merit of the request. Chapter 6, Authority, Directed Deference. This chapter examines how people are conditioned to obey authority figures. Cialdini uses examples like Milgram's obedience experiments, where participants followed instructions to administer electric shocks to others, to illustrate the power of authority. Uniforms, titles, and other symbols of authority can create a perception of expertise or legitimacy, making people more likely to comply with requests from those who seem to hold power. This principle plays a significant role in workplaces, medical fields, and other structured environments where authority figures have a strong influence. Cialdini encourages readers to question the legitimacy of authority claims to avoid blind obedience. Chapter 7, Scarcity, the Rule of the Few. Scarcity is a powerful motivator because people assign more value to things that appear limited or rare. Cialdini explains how marketers use scarcity to create urgency, such as through limited-time offers or highlighting low stock. This principle is tied to the fear of missing out, FOMO, where individuals worry about losing an opportunity. Cialdini shares research on how scarcity impacts people's decision-making, such as in auctions where competition drives prices higher. By understanding this principle, individuals can become more mindful of how scarcity appeals might be influencing their choices. Chapter 8, Instant Influence, Primitive Consent for an Automatic Age. In this chapter, Cialdini discusses how people often rely on mental shortcuts, or automaticity, to make decisions. He uses the term click, or to describe these automatic responses that save time and energy but can be easily manipulated by persuaders. This chapter ties together the previous principles, explaining how they exploit these automatic responses. For instance, a person might automatically agree to a request because it follows a sequence of smaller, seemingly rational steps. Cialdini stresses the importance of recognizing when someone is attempting to trigger an automatic response and thinking critically before acting. Chapter 9, Reflections and Conclusions. Cialdini concludes the book by emphasizing the ethical implications of using these principles. He acknowledges that while the techniques discussed can be used manipulatively, they are also valuable tools for guiding positive outcomes, such as in therapy, education, and leadership. Cialdini encourages readers to become more aware of how these principles work so they can make better, more conscious decisions. He suggests that knowledge of these techniques can help individuals resist undue influence and become more effective in their own persuasive efforts. Conclusion. Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, by Robert Cialdini delves deeply into the psychology behind why people say yes and how these principles can be applied or resisted. Cialdini's exploration of principles like reciprocation, consistency, social proof, liking, authority, and scarcity provides valuable insights into the automatic behaviors that guide decisions. The book serves as both a guide for those looking to persuade and a defense manual for those who wish to guard against manipulative tactics. By understanding these psychological triggers, readers gain the power to navigate social interactions more consciously, making informed choices in a world where influence is everywhere.